Hey, Adam from realworldworship.org. It is a website, a blog that's devoted to equipping worship leaders from everyday average churches that are doing extraordinary things for the kingdom of God and for worship ministry in their church. And I've been doing some videos about guitars and worship ministry. And the first video was kind of about this stereotype that to have a real good worship guitar, it has to be this really expensive guitar, or this stereotype that worship leaders have very expensive gear. The second video I did was whether or not you should buy high-end gear. And this last video is just generally, is there a right guitar for worship leading? And if so, what is it? And I'm speaking more about electric guitars, but I think there is applicability to acoustic guitar and bass guitar as well. So is there a quote-unquote worship guitar? This is the right guitar to get for leading worship? No. I don't believe that there is such a thing as the right guitar or the guitar to have for leading worship. Anybody who tells you that is just following a stereotype, or they're following a trend based off of a very limited sample size. If you have a Gibson Les Paul, or a Fender Telecaster, or a Gibson SG, or a Gretsch 6120, or so on and so on and so on, the people in your church are not going to notice a massive difference. Nobody in your church is going to say, hey, that was a Jazzmaster style guitar on that record, but when you guys play it on Sunday mornings, you're using a Les Paul style guitar. Nobody's saying that, okay? There is no such thing as the right guitar for worship. There is the right guitar for you. There's the type of pickups that fit how you play. There's the type of neck radius, neck shape, all that kind of stuff that's just comfortable for you. But nobody's going to notice. If Elevation took all of their Elliots and Bethel took all of their Veritaases and they switched them and they did a record with each other's guitars, I guarantee nobody's going to notice unless there was a video or something of this happening. Actually, that's a really interesting idea. So Bethel or Elevation guys, you should try that, because just from a purely gear standpoint, that would be an interesting experiment. But that being said, nobody's going to notice. Now, I do believe there are inappropriate guitars for church, but they're not nearly as many of them as people think. The Gibson SG is not inappropriate. Those aren't the devil's horns, no matter what anybody says. We have a guy in our church that uses an SG, and I think it sounds fantastic. And even guitars that are a little more out of the ordinary, like a Gibson Explorer, a Flying V, maybe you have a guitar that's got a really extravagant paint job, sparkle red or something like that. Those guitars one Sunday will be like ooh, what's that? But 3 weeks later, everybody's gonna be like, oh, that's just so-and-so's guitar. They have that pretty sparkly red guitar, and then they're gonna not care. So those are like the 1 week distractions that I just don't even think matter. What I'm talking about are truly inappropriate guitars. If you have a 420 sticker on your bass guitar, if you have a guitar that has the Confederate flag on it, if you have a guitar, there are shapes that I think probably are truly distracting, but it's one of those things, it when you see it. But if you have a truly distracting or truly offensive guitar, that's not going to church. A guitar with a pentagram on it is probably, some BC Rich guitar with a pentagram on it is not a good idea. Other than that, you want to find a guitar that has a wide range of sounds. If somebody's using a Gretsch on the original recording, you can get there with a Tele. You can really get there with a Strat if you want to. There's other ways of getting those sounds. So you want guitars with a truly wide range of sound. So that's the other kind of guitar that I wouldn't recommend, is guitars with a limited sound. Let me give you an example. I really love the Fender Jaguar. The first really decent electric guitar that I owned was a Fender Jaguar. I've owned a couple since. I'm a big fan. it has a very limited sound. So, or a very specific sound. So um, if I'm hearing something that's I want this sound. Well, the Jaguar is the Jaguar, and there are guitars like the Telecaster that are very versatile, and there are guitars that are very specific. Jaguars come to mind. Vintage 1960s single coil guitars. There's real specific ones that come to mind. Guitars with a really beefy mid range sound that don't play well with pedals. The pickups are really hot or they're really mid rangey, and they sound good on their own or with an amp, but with pedals they get muddy. Those kind of guitars I would avoid. But otherwise, if you have a Fender Telecaster, if you have a Duesenberg, if you have a Gretsch, if you have I mean, it's not going to matter. Um, it's finding the guitar that's right for you, the dimensions, the weight, the pickups, the things that you prefer, and then going from there. So, is there a one worship guitar? No. Are there certain guitars that you should probably avoid? Absolutely. But find the guitar that you like, that's right for you, that has a lot of versatility, especially if you only have one guitar. Find a very versatile guitar, and then go from there and have fun. All right? This has been Adam from realworldworship.org. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative. If you have any questions, comments, pushback, whatever, leave a comment below. Thanks.